This is another one of those I would definitely like to build out bigger. I would love to build this sizing somewhat similar to Meta and Tesla over time, okay? And just continue to add shares every few weeks, here and there. Obviously, Palantir is a very volatile stock. This stock can make some big moves. So I'll be more aggressive when it's obviously making bigger downward moves, right? Now, in regards to Palantir, this is a stock that was spending a lot of time in the 6s and 7s recently, for the last number of months in the 6s and 7s range, okay? Could I see Palantir going back to the $6 to $7 range? My answer to that is it's a possibility. I would call it a lower probability now at this point in time, even if the market was to weaken, because Palantir is starting to show profitability and because they're talking about profitability in 23.
The top questions all related to GAAP profitability, with the number one question from Abraham, who asks, when is Palantir going to become profitable?
Well, we're profitable, and we will be profitable this year.
You're going to continue to attract, in my opinion, a new investor class to Palantir that hasn't even considered that stock in the past, because obviously no GAAP profitability. And so there's a ton of investors that if you're not GAAP profitable, they won't even consider you. It doesn't matter what you got going on, doesn't matter your story, doesn't matter your revenue growth, doesn't matter who the CEO is, doesn't matter your product. If you're not profitable on a GAAP basis, they'll say, no, we don't want a piece of you. And so the fact that Alex Karp and the team believe this company is going to be profitable on a GAAP basis now, moving forward, and the more and more quarters they put together where they have a GAAP profitable quarter, the more and more investors are going to flock to the stock, the more and more hedge funds that will start to consider it, funds in general, okay? So it's a possibility, but I would call it a lower probability this one goes back to that $6 to $7 range. And so I'm looking to pick up shares anywhere between $8 and $11 for the stock, and significantly. I'll be happy if it goes back to the 6 and 7s. I'll be more than happy. Sweet, go back there, baby. I'd love to get it under my cost basis if possible, but I think that might be a little tough to get it back to those 6s and 7s now at this point. So I'll just continue to pick up shares aggressively. Anything between 8 and 12, that's kind of my ideal price. I'll buy Palantir, by the way, all the way up to 16. I'm willing to pay all the way up to $16 for Palantir, okay?
Let's talk about your business. There's been some pressure on the stock, as you know. You're coming off your first quarter where you achieved profitability on a GAAP basis. You said you expect to generate a profit for the fiscal current.
The way Alex Karp sits in the seat sometimes cracks me up. He looks like he's ready to pounce on that man. Holy smokers, that ain't no joke.
Quarter, or for current fiscal year. Why do you think the stock has not moved more?
Look, there's a lot of macro factors but honestly, if you look, I think one of the few stocks where our market cap is higher than when we DPO'd. We can't get into our current earnings or say anything that would be new, but I'm looking at a U.S. market that's doing very, very well, and over the medium and long term, I'm a very proud holder of Palantir shares.
Okay, so as you know, Jim,
get into our current earnings or say anything that would be new, but I'm looking at a U.S. market that's doing very, very well.
I'm looking at a U.S. market that's doing very, very well. And now put these pieces together, folks, okay? You heard his confidence just there about obviously the U.S. market. But also, if you read the latest kind of press release or whatever you want to call it that the company put out a few days ago, right? Alex Karp in there mentions how there's been an uptick in strength in the business. So over the past few months, he specifically mentions, right? And so put these pieces together, and I'm just going to go out there on a limb and say maybe this company is going to beat the yearly numbers that the company thought they were going to do. Because based upon the confidence I'm hearing in this interview, based upon the press release, once again, whatever you want to call it the other day, and you put these pieces together, I'm just going to go out there on a limb and say maybe things are shaping up a little stronger and a little better, maybe a lot better. I don't want to go that far, but maybe at least a little better than the company actually anticipated. And so maybe we're going to see bigger profits than we thought we'd see. Maybe we're going to see better revenue in 2023 than we thought we might see based upon what management thought we would see for this year. So interesting. This is two pieces of the puzzle to put together here.
And over the medium and long term, I'm a very proud holder of Palantir shares.
Okay, so as you know, Jim Cramer had some choice words for the company, called it a company made up for memesters.
Yeah.
What did you think when you saw that?
He doesn't actually look at the financials because I don't spend any time talking to him. And what I really think is you take my Palantir and you take whatever anyone says about it. Let's talk about it in a year. Let's talk about it in 2 years. I'm very happy.
So that's put another piece of the puzzle together there. He's not talking about talk to us in 5 years, talk to us in 10 years. He says talk to us in a year, talk to us in 2 years. A man with that sort of confidence, speaking about the next year or 2 years, I'm guessing he sees good things coming down the pipe here. That's all I'm going to say, okay? That's a third piece of the puzzle to put together just in the past few days of like, maybe things are shaping up to be a little better and a little stronger than anyone expected, including himself, Alex Karp. Interesting.
I actually love when people attack us because it's like, great, okay, well, we'll show you our cards over the next couple years.
What's going to happen in 2 years?
A lot of the questions that are being asked, like how does AI move from being either a danger or a trinket, are going to move to, oh, these 5 companies, these 10 companies in the sector implemented large language models, algorithms, and did it in a way that created trust, and they won the whole market.
Imagine you run a big company, right? And let's say I'm the CEO of a big company. I want to have a way, without ever having to use a human, and I can get this answer in less than 5 seconds. I want to be able to type in, what was the gross margin? Let's say I'm the CEO of Apple. I want to type in, what was the gross margin of Apple in 2009? And be able to see that immediately. I want to be able to type in, how many iPhones did we sell in the first quarter of 2014, and be able to see that within 2 or 3 seconds, right? How many customers have upgraded from an iPhone 13 to an iPhone 14 so far this year, right? I'm sure Apple has that data somewhere, but I can tell you that data is probably not going to be easy to get to. Imagine if there's a system that could spit that answer out like that, right? But also, if it's giving me real-time data, I can't have all my employees having that, right? It can only be a few select executives. So these are the important things that we got to think about as these systems get built out over the next 5-10 years, and that these are the type of things that Palantir is working on here. Think about how much faster you can make decisions if you don't need a bunch of people running around trying to find that, hey, how many iPhones did we sell in the first quarter? Oh, let me look that up. Okay, I'm got to start going through these files and all this data, right? But on the flip side, you need only certain individuals to be able to see certain segments of data, right? Like maybe you don't want everybody to see every single data point, right? Like let's say we're getting into some more confidential information, like what was our main chip supplier last quarter for XYZ chip that goes into the iPhone, and how much were we paying them, and what gross margin did that company actually report, right? Let's say I was trying to find out those sorts of data points in regards to a company. You know, certain executives might have access to that, but maybe certain other folks shouldn't have access to that are inside the organization. Imagine you're a government entity and you need to find out information and have the system sift through data and be able to spit you out an answer that's accurate and true within seconds, right? And so not only does that information need to be perfect and right and correct, but also certain people should have access to certain data and be able to use, let's say, something that's similar to a ChatGPT, right, to give you this information, but other folks shouldn't have access to that, right? Never mind organizations outside of that organization, whether it's a government entity or private entity. And so this is the work that Palantir is putting in here that I think is very important to break it down in the most simple, place possible.